You ever read a sentence and you know all the words, but you feel like you're missing something deeper about how it all fits together? Well, today, we're going to break the code. We are diving into Portuguese verbal voices to give you a whole new way of looking at sentences.
You know, the secret to all of this, the master key really, comes down to one simple question. Who's in charge of the action? For any sentence you see, just ask yourself that. Is the subject actually doing the thing, or is the thing being done to the subject? Hang on to that question because it's going to unlock everything for us.
Okay, take a look at this. This is the whole concept in a nutshell. We've got the same event, right? A piece of chalk gets broken. But these are two totally different ways to talk about it. On the left, the teacher broke the chalk. It's all about the teacher. He's the star. But on the right, the chalk was broken by the teacher. Now suddenly, the chalk is the main character. Same action, but a totally different focus. That little shift, that's verbal voice.
So here's our game plan for this little code-breaking adventure. We're going to start with the secret code itself, what verbal voice actually is. Then we'll get into the big three, active, passive, and reflexive. And we'll wrap it all up with the really important rules you got to know to get this right every time.
All right, let's jump right in with our first section, the sentence's secret code. This is where we lay the groundwork and figure out what we even mean when we say verbal voice.
So here it is. Verbal voice is basically a little signal that the verb sends out. It's not about what's happening, it's about the subject's relationship to what's happening. Is the subject the one doing the work, or is it just sitting back and letting the action happen to it? That's the whole idea.
Let's start with the one you see all the time, the default setting for most sentences. This is the active voice. This is where the subject is the hero of the story, the one calling the shots.
Yeah, in the active voice, there's no confusion, right? The subject is the agent, the doer. They are front and center, performing the action of the verb. It's direct, it's clear, and it usually packs more of a punch.
And you can see it right here in these examples. In that first one, who's scoring the goal? The player, o jogador. He's the one doing it. And in the second one, who did the applauding? The audience, o público. They are performing the action. Super clear, super direct. That's active voice for you. But what if you don't want the doer to be the star? What if the person or thing receiving the action is actually more important to your story? Well, that's when we flip the script and use the passive voice.
Okay, so let's go back to our soccer player. In the active voice, it's the player will score a beautiful goal. Simple enough. The player the subject, the goal is the object. Now, keep your eye on the goal because we're about to do a little switcheroo.
And poof, there it is. A beautiful goal will be scored by the player. Did you see what happened? The object from the first sentence, un lindo gol, just became the subject of the new one. The entire focus of the sentence has shifted from the player to the goal itself. It's the same event, just seen through a different camera lens.
And that's the official lowdown. In the passive voice, the subject is what we call the patient. It's not doing anything, it's just there receiving the action. It's being acted upon. It's the recipient, not the agent. Okay, but wait, there's more. The passive voice isn't just a single thing, especially in Portuguese. It actually comes in two different flavors, analytical and synthetic. Let's take a look at how each one is built. So first we've got the analytical passive, and the recipe for this is actually pretty straightforward. You just need two ingredients. You grab a helping verb, usually it's ser, and then you add the past participle of the main verb. That's it. That's the whole formula. And here you can see the two side by side. The analytical on the left follows that recipe we just talked about. Foi aplaudido, helping verb plus participle. Now look at the synthetic on the right. It's way more compact. You just take the verb and tack on the little particle se, consertam-se sapatos. You see this kind of thing all the time on shop signs in Brazil and Portugal. It's a super common, short and sweet way to say shoes are repaired here.
All right, so we've seen the subject act and we've seen the subject receive an action. But what if the subject acts on itself? What if the action is like looking in a mirror? Well, that brings us to our third code, the reflexive voice.
This one's pretty cool. The subject is literally doing double duty. It's wearing two hats. It is the agent, the one doing the action, and at the exact same time, it's the patient, the one receiving that action. The action basically boomerangs right back to the person who started it. A really simple example makes this crystal clear. Think about the sentence, the boy hurt himself. Who did the hurting? The boy. And who got hurt? The boy. He's doing it, and he's receiving it. Agent and patient all rolled into one. That, my friends, is the reflexive voice. Now, this is super important. It's a classic mix-up, so heads up. That little word "se" can be a bit of a trickster. When you see "os lutadores ferreram-se,"
It doesn't mean each fighter hurt himself. No, it means they hurt each other. That's called reciprocal action. It's a two-way street, not a mirror. It's a subtle difference, but a really big one.
Okay, so we've cracked the codes. We know what they are. Now it's time to master them. This last part is all about the essential rules of the road, the things you absolutely need to know to use these voices like a pro.
So just focus on that last column for a second, the passive voice. Notice how the helping verb, foi, será, foram, is doing all the heavy lifting? That's the part that changes to show the tense and whether we're talking about one thing or many. The main verb, comprado, just chills out and agrees with the subject. Getting this right is key to building these sentences correctly.
And this might be the golden rule of the whole thing. You can only make a passive sentence if the verb takes a direct object. You know, one that doesn't need a little preposition like D or M after it. The verb precisar, to need, always needs that D, so you just can't make it passive. Silencio foi precisado, it just sounds weird and clunky, right? And now you know exactly why it's totally wrong.
So there you have it. We've gone from active to passive to reflexive. We've really broken down the sentence's secret code. But the real question isn't about grammar anymore. It's about what you can do with it. Now that you know how to shift the focus, how to change the storyteller, how will you use this to build your own sentences and tell your own stories? What will you create?